Hey everyone, this is Skylar Hamilton here, coming to you with an issue that's extremely relevant today, in fact a headline that's in today's newspaper, to talk about some principles though that apply everywhere. So that even though this issue pertains to Orem, it'll apply to you anywhere because these principles are true. Okay, really quickly, Orem Council sends letter to PacSun. What is this about for those that don't know? A couple months ago, I guess, a concerned citizen of Orem, was going through the University Mall here in Orem and found some shirts on display by the store PacSun to be lewd and offensive and immoral. And through a series of events, this has led to her and some others calling for the city to get involved to further deter this kind of activity and this type of display. Well, Tuesday, the council, -1, did send a letter. Now, this isn't threatening the use of force. The city attorneys saw this as a case they would not take on, and kudos to them. And their reasoning, I should write an article about, and showing why they were correct in that decision. But anyways, the council itself did send a letter, and I've seen it. It has the official city letterhead, so it wasn't just them as individuals. It was in the name of the city. Pretty much saying, please don't do it. We find it objectionable. Now, why is this wrong? Why am I even bringing this up? Well, first off, right off the bat, I as an individual do not support the content that was on the shirts. Okay? When someone supports the principle of free speech, they're not accused, reasonably, of supporting everything everyone says. So don't twist my words in an attempt to say I'm just justifying the material that was on there. That's not what this is about. We need to learn how to separate the apples from the trees, separate the symptoms from the diseases, and how we think about things like this. This is about the proper role of government. And what is government even there for, right? It's representation for the people. And what? Their interests? Some interests over other interests? No. Their common interest, individual freedom, okay? So it's not to represent the interests of some. Once again, it's to represent the rights of all. Okay? So thus, the lowest common denominator of all the particular moral codes, the general morality, is the morality that's to be found in a legitimate government's legal code. Okay? And essentially, this will come down to the golden rule, which Christ said was the basis for all the law and the prophets. Don't harm other people. Don't do to them what you wouldn't want them to do to you. And I find this ironic, given this moral crusade against PacSun, for neglecting this moral code, this moral basis for a free society, and trying to use the city, the mechanism of the state, to bully someone. Okay, so people will say, well, the shirts harm. Well, remember, you got to prove a causal link. We're talking palpable harm here. The material is obviously considered morally repugnant by some, but also morally supported by others. The fact that the shirts are there to be sold show that there's a demand for it. Okay? So if you use force to take on the symptom, you're going to still be left with the disease. Okay? You should use persuasion, all the voluntary means available in a society to protest things like this. And don't use coercion. Don't use the state. Once again, this is from their letter, as quoted in the Daily Herald. We believe that this type of public display is objectionable, not just to us, but to many, not all, many of the citizens of Orem. What about the others? Are you representing just this many in signing this letter? Representatives? Now, a lot of the people that support the city getting involved on this issue don't support the city getting involved in another big issue for people of Orem, but also the principle behind it pertaining to everyone that's watching this video. Utopia is essentially government involvement in providing fiber optic internet service. Okay? And people say, a lot of these same people say, down with utopia. All right? Well, think about this. What's the moral issue with something like that? Well, everyone is being taxed to support this, regardless of whether they would naturally on their own support it. So a particular interest using the state mechanism to force everyone to pay for a service they themselves may not desire. That's wrong, right? And these people probably can see this on an issue like utopia. Now let's turn it to this. Let's apply that same principle to this PacSun issue. A particular interest trying to use the state mechanism to force one store, right, to change its behavior, so some may not be able to use their service. And that, of course, would even apply with the displaying, not necessarily the selling of the item. Okay. So they talk of negative social ills. They talk about this as a moral battle. I think they're missing the moral battle. Okay. What about the negative social ill of brutality, of coercion, of the bully pulpit, of government being perverted? And once it goes down that road, where's the logical line of the sand to say here and no further? Okay. Remember the same principle of saying we can justifiably use the city to deter this activity we don't approve of, or the display of this content we don't approve of, could easily be turned on an activity that these people may support. Let's say there's a group of people here in Orem that find that religious missionaries are spreading lies and dogma and it's harming people. Okay. Are they justified in using the city to deter that activity that they find to be harming? All right. Same principle. Remember, the Constitution is there to protect the most vulnerable. Even if it's just one store, one individual. The rights protected in the Bill of Rights of the Constitution of the state of Utah aren't conditional upon what some faction thinks or a group of factions think. Even if that's 99.9%, it's there to protect everyone's rights. And that's what it should be there. Otherwise, you have mobocracy. You have mobocracy in the mechanism of the state just being abused by whoever can lobby the best. Okay? So let's not abandon the moral code of the Golden Rule in our quote-unquote moral crusade. And remember, those that live by the sword, right, will die by the sword. That's what Jesus said. Now, kudos to Brent Sumner. He left his name off He refused to sign this letter. And this is his quote from the newspaper. "I don't like government telling businesses how to run their business." Thank you, Brent Sumner. Kudos to you. Now, I've tried to make this video short as I can. I could flesh out these arguments more. I'm planning on writing an article, but please share the video. Think about it. Talk to your family, your friends. Spread this information. Let's champion a proper government, a legitimate government, the general moral code, right, surrounding the individual right. All right, and till next time, see ya.